I didn't panic when I saw the pregnancy test. At least, not immediately. For a few seconds, I simply stared at the 2 pink lines, trying to understand what I was looking at. Positive. My chest tightened. The problem was, I didn't remember taking it. And before you assume it was just forgetfulness, you need to understand something about me. I am not a careless person. I remember birthdays, appointments, passwords I created 10 years ago. I remember everything. So when my hands started shaking, it wasn't confusion I felt first. It was fear. A quiet, intelligent kind of fear. The kind that doesn't scream, but sits beside you and whispers, something is wrong. At first, I told myself there had to be a logical explanation. There always is. Maybe it was old. Maybe it wasn't mine. Maybe Daniel had thrown it away for someone else. That thought should have sounded ridiculous. But instead, it stayed. Daniel and I had been married for 6 years. Our life wasn't dramatic. No slammed doors, no broken trust, just routine. Comfortable, predictable routine. The kind people call safe. Looking back now, I wonder if safety is sometimes just silence we stop questioning. I pulled the test out of the trash again. My fingers felt cold. 2 lines don't lie. So why did my memory feel blank? I stood there longer than I want to admit, searching my mind, as if the answer were hiding, just slightly out of reach. And then something small surfaced. A week, a strange, blurred week from the previous month. I remembered headaches, exhaustion, falling asleep fully dressed, Daniel telling me I should rest. But the details? Gone. At the time, I blamed stress. Work had been overwhelming. Still, most people don't lose entire weeks. Do they? That night, I didn't mention the test. Not yet. Instead, I watched Daniel. There is something unsettling about observing someone who has no idea they are being studied. He moved normally, asked about my day, kissed my forehead while passing behind my chair. Perfectly ordinary. Too ordinary. "What are you thinking about?" he asked suddenly. I forced a smile. Nothing. But my heart had begun learning a new rhythm, one built from quiet suspicion. Later, while he slept, I found myself awake, listening to his breathing, steady, peaceful. Meanwhile, my mind refused to rest. I kept returning to the same question. If I didn't take the test, who did? The next morning, I searched the bathroom cabinet, and that's when the unease deepened. The box was still there. One test missing. Not old. Not forgotten. Used recently. My pulse climbed into my throat. When Daniel came home that evening, I asked as casually as I could, "Have we had guests lately?" He looked confused. "No. Why?" "No reason," I said quickly, and for the first time in our marriage, I lied without guilt, because something inside me had shifted. Trust had cracked, just slightly, but enough to let doubt seep through. Over the next few days, I began noticing things I might once have ignored. Daniel checking his phone, then turning it face down, pauses before answering simple questions, a distance in his eyes I couldn't name, or maybe I was seeing distance because I was already afraid. Self-doubt is a strange thing. It doesn't ask permission. It just moves in. One afternoon, I almost threw the test away, told myself I was being irrational, but something stopped me, a quiet instinct that refused to be silenced. So instead, I made an appointment with my doctor. I didn't tell Daniel. I needed one piece of truth that belonged only to me. The clinic smelled faintly of antiseptic and lavender, an odd combination. When the nurse called my name, my legs felt heavier than usual. "We'll run a quick blood test," she said gently. Simple, clinical, nothing dramatic. But as I sat there waiting, my body felt like a stranger, as if it knew something my mind had not yet understood. When the doctor returned, her expression was careful, measured, and suddenly I was terrified of her next sentence. "You were pregnant," she said softly. The world did not spin. There was no cinematic collapse, just a deep, internal stillness. "But the hormone levels are dropping," she continued. "It appears you experienced a very early miscarriage." Miscarriage? The word echoed quietly. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. "How could I not know?" I whispered. She hesitated. Severe stress can sometimes mask symptoms, and very early losses can resemble normal cycles. I nodded automatically, but inside, something was unraveling. I had been pregnant, and I had lost it. Without even realizing, a life had briefly existed inside me. The drive home felt unreal. Memories flickered. That blurred week, the exhaustion, Daniel insisting I stay in bed. And suddenly, a new question surfaced. Why hadn't he told me something seemed wrong? When I walked through the front door, Daniel looked up, smiled. The same smile I had trusted for years, and for the first time, I saw it differently. Not as warmth, but as something carefully arranged. "I went to the doctor today," I said. His face drained of color, just for a second. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but I did. "You were pregnant?" he asked quietly, not shocked, not confused, just quiet. Too quiet. "You knew," I said. It wasn't a question. He sat down slowly, like a man whose body had decided before his mind. "I didn't want to upset you," he said. "The doctor confirmed it when you fainted at home. You were barely conscious. I thought it would be kinder to wait." Kinder. The word struck something sharp inside me. "You decided," I said slowly, "that losing our child was something I shouldn't know about?" His silence answered. And in that silence, I understood something terrifying. For weeks, I had believed our marriage was built on protection. But protection without truth is just control wearing softer clothes. That night, I didn't cry. Grief came later. What arrived first was clarity. I saw our life as it truly was. The decisions made for me, the emotions managed around me, the quiet ways I had been handled instead of honored. And somewhere between midnight and morning, a calm certainty settled inside my chest. I could survive loss, but I could not live inside a life where my reality was edited without my consent. When Daniel woke, I was already dressed, suitcase near the door. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Somewhere I can hear my own voice again," I said. Leaving didn't feel dramatic. It felt precise, like setting a bone that had healed crooked. Months have passed now. The grief still visits sometimes. Quiet, unexpected. But so does something else. Strength. Because losing that pregnancy taught me a truth I wish I had understood earlier. Never surrender awareness for the illusion of safety. Sometimes the deepest betrayals aren't loud. They happen gently, behind decisions made for our own good. So tell me honestly, if you discovered your reality had been hidden from you, would you call it protection or betrayal? I read every comment. And if this story stayed with you, subscribe. Because some stories don't just echo, they awaken us.